Hey, yes, of course. Thank you, Bill. Those moldy oldies. Hey, this is a great story. It's a fun story. The Bible has fun in it. I think it invents it, and it's amazing. And so we've heard this story about Peter walking on the water with Jesus. We're gonna hit it with a little different touch. Because, as the title says, if you want to walk on water, you got to get off the couch. Okay, now, as I was thinking about that this week, I was thinking to myself that sometimes I don't want to get off the couch. And you may be thinking the same thing. So, an appropriate other would be, God can't steer a parked car. One thing God needs from us is our permission for God to do what God wants to do. And to open a door and to say, I'm really ready to go. So this morning, whether you like it or not, you are going to meet the Jesus who challenges you and I to big risk. Okay? We're going to focus on the Jesus that challenges us to enter with Him into a relationship of big risks, of opening up some things, getting outside your comfort zone. And I spent the first service saying this over and over again, so I'm going to say it early and not as often. The big risk for you may never get on, film at 11, on the news. No one may ever write a book about it. It's the one thing that has your current Christian life frozen by fear. We're going to come to that. So when I'm talking about big, and you're ready to check out because the only big things happen on stage or, the Christian celebrities, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your next step, my next step, whatever that is. We want to meet the Jesus this morning. And we want to do that because there's a new American Idol. And this is not the American Idol that you're thinking. This is something that the Father knew before the foundation of the earth. And do you know what that American Idol is? Safety. Safety. We have traded a life of joy and adventure and hope and stirring and great purpose from safety. Pulling back, saying, I'm going to play this really safe. I just want to sneak up on my grave and fall in and not hurt anything and put on my tombstone, and I made no mistakes. And we are worshiping at the throne of safety. God, on the other hand, is saying, I am huge and you never will be. But this is the cool thing of what I want to do. I'm God, you're not. He says, I'd rather have chipped and broken vessels, that's us, so that when my glory comes forth or pours forth from them, they will know. Basically what Paul is saying in that verse is, we're all cracked pots. Right? And what God wants to do is emanate His glory so that the world will go, man, I know that Jeff Mitchell guy. That ain't him. That's a God thing. That's a power. And we're all thinking, no, I got to be all that. I got to have the clothes. I got to have the look. God wants us as scrawny and chipped and broken pot looking as possible, so that God can release through you a stunning effect of His glory that blows away the people that you walk before, and they go, I need that. That's what I want to have. So, buckle your seatbelts. 5 challenges this morning from Jesus, and the first is this. Jesus challenges us to travel further than is safe. The story gets rich from the very beginning. And if you're looking at verse 22 at the top, I have one word for you to circle, and that is the word made. I love this. Jesus rarely does this, but it's important that we see that He does. It says, He made them get in the boat. He forced them into the boat. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm one of the 12, I'm going, why is he getting us in the boat and he's not getting in? And where is he going? And he's the rudder to the whole thing. Where are we going in the boat? And amongst all of these questions, there are simply no answers. He made them get in the boat. I believe that God is providing a circumstance and set of situations in which you will be made to take that next step with God. But you could refuse to. The thing we can't refuse is the consequences of not following God. That's what hurts later. So this is where we're at. So the key idea here is I can't find a single verse in Scripture where Jesus says, come follow me and be safe. Okay? It's not in there. I tried it. I tried kind of doing a little bit of the gospel according to Jeff. So here's one. Blessed are those who play it safe. It doesn't work, right? It's not there. But here, I found this more startling. How about this from the Gospel according to Jeff? For God so loved the world that he played it safe. And there was no cross. There was no sacrifice. You received no salvation. And we're just squirming in our seats. Like in the days of Moses, trying to fulfill a law that no one could ever fill. And as close as we get, we never get there. For God so loved the world that he... about what you're giving, where you're giving it, what it means. Is God in that? Challenge number 2. Jesus challenges us to expect the unimaginable. All right? I just love this. This is really out of my comfort zone. So this has been, you get the sermon for 20, 30 minutes, whatever I can stretch out of this. I've been camping with it all week. Expect the unimaginable. So check out this. Disappointment awaits all who think that life and others and circumstances are going to all line up so that you can get a break. So that you can have a life. The family's gonna, the neighbors are gonna, the world gathered is going to, and then we're gonna go, whew, just as I needed it to be. That day ain't happening. God is bringing a storm so that we can see what needs to be next. So here's the unimaginable. 12 guys are in a boat with 13 seats. Okay, have you ever seen a couple guys out there fishing on the lake? Do you see like a billion guys in the boat and all these fishing poles? No, they got 2 guys in a boat and it's comfortable. Jesus has made 12 grown men get in a boat that holds 13 people. 1 seat left for him. So this thing's a little bit rocky. They're in the middle of a lake that is known for storms coming up like that. It's dark 40 now. It's the middle of the night. What's going on? None of their questions are answered. Where's Jesus? What's going to happen? You have this kind of life. You've been in that place where, bam, it all busts loose and you go, where's Jesus at? Check the passage. What does it say? He went up to a mountain by himself and prayed. Jesus is praying for you when all you know what breaks loose. That's where Jesus is. He's not asleep someplace, taking a break over at Starbucks, getting his favorite or whatever. God is praying for us. God makes us engage a world that we do not, or we reluctantly engage, and it gets so impossible that those who call themselves Christians have to decide to depend upon Jesus. Because the truth is, if you didn't need God, you wouldn't be here this morning. I wouldn't be here this morning. I have a dozen friends that they don't do this. They know me and they don't know why we do. They do other stuff on Sunday morning. In their own minds and in their own self-sufficiency, they're handling life. Now, I don't think it's doing them much good, and in an honest moment, they might say the same. The tragedy is we already know we need God, but we're still trying to figure out, can we do one more thing before we ask for help? As I said last week, at the end of your rope is the beginning of God, and we're praying for God to make the rope longer. We're not asking God to help us, because no one wants to ask for help. The idea here is that Jesus calls us to do what seems impossible. 2 weeks ago, I read this quote. As God's chosen, blessed sons and daughters, we are expected to attempt something large enough that failure is guaranteed unless God steps in. That's the axis that God is looking for. He's not saying, oh, okay, Jeff, here's an easy one. Do you think you could go do this? God doesn't have that card in my deck. Every card that he hands me is an invitation. But Father, I can't do this without you. Exactly. Come with me, son. Let's do this. You see, life is unimaginable for those of us who pick up our cross and follow him. And he's just opening the door and saying, just imagine where and how this goes and how I want to come alongside you. Challenge number 3, Jesus challenges us to say yes in the midst of fear. You see, fear is the big piece here. Fear is the thing we come up against. And we have somehow convinced ourselves that fear is the reality, which it isn't. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. When we say yes, we believe that God is bigger than anything else. Now, before your fear, if someone on a theological survey says, do you believe that God is bigger than everything? Certainly. Absolutely. Get to the end of your rope, hanging over the shark tank. As they go back and forth, I'm thinking, God, can you make my rope longer? Can you do something for me? Or do I have to trust you? Do I have to actually say that fear is bigger? See, when we say no to God, or when we say no because of fear, we're actually at that place where we're not so sure. We're relatively sure most of the time that being saved by the cross of God's grace through faith, we got that. We're just not so sure when God says, love your neighbor, or love your enemy, or keep 90% of your wealth and give 10% of it away to God's using. I don't know. I think God got it. I think maybe God got it wrong on those. And all of a sudden, stuff starts changing and we start wimping out. So check this out. And remember, when I say big risk or great thing, I'm thinking of the thing in your heart, not what's going to be next on the TV show or who's going to write a book or we're going to make a movie out of you. I'm thinking of the thing you're sitting there right now going, I hope Jeff doesn't say the thing that I'm thinking of. That would just really, I feel guilty already. But wow. Every time and at every important thing you do, 2 things happen. When you are ready to do something important, Satan dispatches a demon called fear into your life. And it shows up on the front lawn. I am here. You will not pass. Okay? At the same time, God sends an angel of faith that is more powerful than the demon of fear. It says, you got it all. I'm on your side. We can do this. So Do a gut check. Who do you listen to? Who have you been trained? Who's discipling you? The demon of fear or the angel of faith? How do your determinations turn out? See, it's not a matter of getting everyone into a discipleship class. The church is in a discipleship class. But some of us are with the wrong teacher. See, some of us are being led to think that the fear of that next thing for you, that's the gospel. But you've changed it. It's no longer gospel good news. It's bad news. I can go no further. And if Pastor really knew how it was and the things I live in, then he'd just shut up right now. Because my pity trumps this goodness of God. It's not true. It's not true at all. Jesus comes walking out on the water. Here's my illustration. And you'd think it's trick or treat because they see Jesus, and what do they say? They see the demon of fear. Ghost! It's not even Casper the Friendly Ghost. It's a ghost. This is bad. Here comes Jesus doing something I hadn't expected, breaking through my fear barriers, and they go, oh, not me. He must be crazy. It's not even Halloween. What's he doing? What does Jesus say? He says in the text, take courage, which literally means take heart. A little exercise for you. The next time fear shows up on your door and you feel it, you know, every time fear comes to you, your gut goes, ugh. Just instead of, go to here. What does my heart say? Is God bigger than my fear? Are the angels of faith there for me? Is there a place? Is there just a narrow path that I could just kind of tiptoe through and get through this with God's power? Yes. It's there. You see, overcoming fear and failure is not the issue. That's not what's at stake. It's learning from them. Fear's a dashboard light. It goes on and you pull over and get gas. Or it goes on and you go to your auto mechanic and get it fixed right away. Or you pay no attention to it and you go to your auto mechanic and you really pay through the nose. Okay? Keep Jack and Julie and my friends all in business. Right? It's a dashboard light. Fear is an indication that it's time to move to faith. And something powerful always happens when we do that. The key idea here is the very best successes in life often begin with fear. It goes for the gut, and then you move it to the heart and you say, let's do that. Challenge number 4, Jesus challenges us to pray dangerously. Love that. I mean, I really don't like it. If I were sitting there in the sermon right now, I'd be going, man, boy, he's not taking up enough time. This has got to be closer to 12 o'clock than that. If you look at the passage here, you notice that Peter prays twice. But before I say that, check this out. Every time the disciples talk to Jesus in the narrative of these stories, in the narrative of the gospel, you know what they're doing? They're praying. Every time they're talking to Jesus, that's how he's discipling them. He walked with them. Christians, it's time for us. I hear Christians all the, and this is acceptable in church parlance. Oh, don't ask me to pray. I can't pray. Just forget how I pray, or Olstein on TV, or whoever it is. Let everyone else off the hook and just start talking to Jesus all the time. And the next one that says, hey, could you open our fellowship in prayer? Absolutely. And just talk to the Lord. fancy pants language and these and thous and all that. It's all, did I say that wrong? Yeah, I probably did. It's all about that. Talking. And so the disciples learned prayer. And so when Jesus was gone, do you think they all got sanctified and they got a halo and they started talking King James? No. They kept talking to Jesus. That's how they got it. So I love this. In our passage now, we're verse 28. Oh Lord, if it's you. I like that. God's in the dock, right? God's on trial. If it's you, tell me to come out there on the water. He figures that's a pretty safe prayer, because that ain't going to happen, right? Answer to prayer. Come. Oh, no. I'm not asking you to do this stuff if you're not ready to do this stuff. I'm just praying that we become ready for the larger challenge. And then when it starts happening, and he says yes, and we go, God, I'm going to need more of you. And he goes, absolutely, that's what this is all about. I've only wanted to give more of myself. I don't want this to be a Christian circus. I don't want this to be savior behavior. I don't want you to be clowns for Christ. I don't want you to perform for me. I just want you to get to know me. Just relax. And then when you're called upon, it'll happen naturally. So he says, come. Peter gets out of the boat. He's doing pretty good until he's walking on the water going, check this out. I'm walking on the water. Right? And then he's looking at himself and he's looking at the wind, and what happens? Down he goes. He's still praying. Check this out. Oh Lord, save me. Right? The first prayer was kind of bold, but God doesn't mind. Start off bold. Grab a hold of that peace today that fear has all locked up inside of you, and somewhere about Wednesday or Thursday you'll go, oh Lord, I can't, you do it. Great. That's what I really wanted you to pray the first time, but we're going to work on this. We're just going to slowly but surely get you there. The lesson this morning is that God loves us. God isn't looking for our failure. God's not trying to guilt us. This isn't a do more, be more sermon. It's a get in relationship with God. And let this begin to just kind of have its place. You see, the key idea here is no one can insulate themselves completely from risk. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. You can avoid risk, but you can't avoid the consequences, thank you, of avoiding risk. See, something happens in your life. Something builds up. It's like plaque if you avoid risk and you're a Christ follower and your name is Christian. You just start edging something between you and Christ because you're avoiding the things that Christ wants you to do. And you can do that, but it won't get you there. You see, prayer rarely changes the external to suit me. When I'm praying, oh God, make this work so it works in me. It works my way. God's really not there. If we say, oh God, this really looks like it's huge, change me. Lead me. Show me how to be the person you want me to be in the situations that are given. Finally, Jesus challenges us to stop watching and start living. There's something really cool going on here. And you just got to see it. I've heard many preachers seriously take Peter apart in this passage. And maybe that's the tradition you come from, where they take you apart bit by bit in church and kind of humiliate you, and you're not enough, and you're this and you're that, and the manipulation is hard, and they're pushing you. They want to conform you to their box, and they want to make all that happen, and you're just kind of going, I can't. This was a good day for Peter. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. We kind of think alike. This was a good day for Peter. Check it out. He said yes, right? He got out of the boat, didn't he? He walked a little bit. A little bit. He stumbled, but he prayed. And when he got in the boat, instead of all hail Peter or whatever could have gone on, it said, because of watching this person's behavior, rising and falling, but all the time in relationship with Jesus and not performing for other Christians, it says they worshiped Jesus. You see, if the ups and downs in our lives are allowed and we love each other, we forgive each other, we're there with each other, and we're honest with each other, they see Jesus and worship Him, and they forget all about us bozos. They say, I'd love to be in that crowd. I'd love to disappear in the loving arms of Jesus, holding me over that amazingly black, dark, stormy lake. And all they see is Jesus. The key idea here is when we say yes to God, something incredible is about to happen. You can't help but follow the, whatever you want to call it, the debate or the complaining of the church today that's very concerned in America. We're losing our rights. Right? And I'm going to come back to this in a minute, just do a little mini sermon on what our rights actually are. They're a little thinner. A little thinner than what you may have thought about. What if we all got honest and forgot about that and decided that there were things we can do that no one could outlaw? So this suggestion, if you're reading the book, you saw this, but it's amazing. Imagine the impact on America if every one of the roughly 2 million self-professed Christians in America for 1 week took all the time normally spent in front of the TV set or online and got out of our homes and served the community. Right, Dean? Yes, okay. The line signing up. Not just pick up trash, go paint the school, whatever it is. If roughly 2 million professed Christians, it would make the national news. 2 million. I don't know what it would cost to get a hold of every Christian and say, are you in or not? We're going to do this puppy. There's no laws against that. There's no laws against loving our enemy. There's no laws against washing your brothers and sisters' feet, especially the ones you don't like in this body. And I'm not trying to mess around. It's just true. Oh, maybe you like them, but you know what I'm talking about. There's friction with something. It would make the national news, so when we turned on the news, we would be making the news instead of watching it. Our right as Christians is to give up all rights. It was a rightless Christian church that in 300 years turned the Roman Empire, the brutal Roman Empire, into the brutal Holy Roman Empire. That's you got to kind of watch all the history. Even when we got in charge, it wasn't too pretty. Because we got in charge and Jesus didn't. And that's the danger with all that stuff. You see, faith versus safety is something that I also read 2 weeks ago, but let me just hammer it one more time. You see, faith versus safety goes against common sense. Your common sense is at war with the sermon. So is mine. It contradicts your previous experience. When you got out on the ledge, when you were a Christian leading the army, and you got wounded, the Christian army shot you and walked on. You've been there. I get that. But faith versus safety says, I'm going to go beyond my experience. It seems to disregard your feelings and trainings and your need for security. To live like this is crazy. And like Peter, it sets you up to look like a fool and a loser. And at last look, even though we like to make a lot of fun of Peter in the Gospels, he was neither a loser or a fool. He was the prince of the church. And that's how it works. God's calling us to a rather extraordinary time of being the people of God. I don't suspect, as much as people would say otherwise, I don't suspect that these times are any different than when my parents were growing up, or my grandparents, or my great-grandparents, and all the way back to, living in Stony, Scotland, trying to do all that. That somehow this whole idol of safety has entered into the picture in such a way that we kind of think it's real. We need some extra protection. Maybe Jesus isn't on the hill praying for us in the boat. Maybe we're kind of on our own. We ought to get some, an extra layer of sunscreen on, just in case. Lord Jesus, I pray this morning that as we just take some time, quietly sit